Hiya, it's LindaLee, and I'm about to unbundle my latest eco dye. And this particular eco dye I did with, remember the blue daisies that my mom had? We used those up, and she got some additional daisies. So we used those too, only in using them, I kind of figured out that instead of them being dyed, it looked like they were sprayed. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I did put about a half a cup of coffee in the boil along with my vinegar and alum. I also used a different paper, something that's a little more lightweight and fewer leaves. So I just wanted to see kind of how and what would happen if I just allowed for a little more negative space. And so far it looks pretty good. I was a little worried because I didn't use any of the coleus that I normally use, and that usually pushes out, a bunch of color. This piece of paper right here is actually a watercolor paper. It's heavier weight. There's one of the daisy pieces. I think I'm gonna need a little bit more water. So most of the paper is lighter weight. This one piece right here is the only one that was heavier weight. So I gotta kind of be really careful on doing them. Cool. That one looks cool so far, doesn't it? And just like always, the true tell is going to be when it's dry. So, that turned out pretty cool. Oh, this here is a little bit of seam binding that I put in the boil, and it actually turned out like a grayish color. So when I was doing the rinse, when I was dumping the water out of the pot, it was a little more on the green side than gray. Oh man, this is gonna tear. This whole batch is gonna be difficult to take apart. Let's make sure the water is cold. Oh boy, now I'm afraid. So what happened is I ran out of my mixed media paper and I used a drawing pad instead. So this paper is like 50 pound weight instead of 90. So I was a little concerned. Look at that, see how it tore right there already? I was a little concerned about the flowers pushing through it. But we'll see. The torn pieces I usually just make sure I keep for myself. So far I haven't done anything with my eco papers yet, as far as making a journal or anything, but that's my plan. Oh, come on. It's one of my envelopes. So it's pretty yellow, or yellowish green anyway. Little hints of pink. So I guess the spray did give off some color. gonna be so super delicate. So what I might do is I'll undo some of it and then either like fast forward or just cut to the end. I do have some fabric in here too. A piece of lace. That's cool. All I have to do is get in here. Shoot. I folded it too evenly. I should have did it so that the edges didn't line up so perfect. All right, I'm gonna just set that aside. I'll struggle with that in a bit. Move on to the next. I didn't even have any plants sticking out on the other one to try and help me leverage to get inside. There's a daisy. Cool. Paper is really fragile. Mm-hmm. Looks like a larger envelope. That's pretty. This right here that we're getting into now is a piece of fabric. So it's a vintage cotton. And it's like stuck. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just kind of leave it stuck, except for the chunkiest parts. I might have to wait till it's dry to get some of this off. It doesn't really look like it yielded much color. It's just parts of the leaves that are, or the petals that are stuck. So I don't know what I should do with that. Just wait till it's dry to take it off, probably. Open it up. Yeah, see, no color. Really? It's just part of the petals that are stuck that were painted. So the plant impression parts are really pretty, and you can see a little bit of the flower stuff, but see, this is a great big piece from the blossom. Okay. Just give that my best rinse, and we'll move on to the papers. And here's another big chunky piece though. Pretty. Some of the flowers did shed some color. The orange ones just stuck. But the pink one, here, my look. this is ripping. Oh, at least it's tearing at the fold. Look like I just got an Amber Alert on my phone, so I'm not quite sure what they did to my recording. I guess we'll figure it out in editing. Definitely can't be heavy-handed with this. Well, this is just something that I had. So, the next time I go out to the store, I'll get the other paper. I just didn't want to wait. Especially while the original blue flowers were still healthy. Pretty. Would you believe the ones that were sprayed green left yellow impressions? Yeah. Just never know. Look.
Oh, pretty. Nice.
And more layers in here than I thought.
be done in a few, Mom.
Taking a little longer than it normally does because this paper is so fragile. I'm being very, very careful. Of course, it usually takes me about a half hour to unbundle it, and I think that's about where I am. I don't know how much more yet there really is, but this is the last piece. And then this is just the recycled priority box that I'm not going to be concerned with. All right, so we'll see when it's dry. Hiya, welcome back. And here is the batch of Eco Dyes all nice and dry. And it's really pretty, very cool. I'm definitely gonna seek out these daisies again. First we'll take a look at the larger pieces. This here was the only piece of watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds. The daisies that had been sprayed, part of the daisies on a few things actually stuck directly to the paper or on the fabric, because I did some vintage cotton as well. So it's not going to come off. The ones on the cotton might, but I'm going to just kind of leave it as is until they're actually going to be used for something. But this is the back side of it. Doesn't it look cool though? And then this is actually a piece of doily. I'll show you that in a little bit. But I only used hibiscus and fern, and then the daisies too. There's a daisy and my fern. Again, some daisies, hibiscus, and fern. But I was really kind of surprised at how much yellow there actually is in here. I didn't use too much that would literally throw a lot of color. I did use alum in the water and a little bit of coffee and vinegar. This, I love this. But aren't they cool? This is both front sides. This is a front side. Hopefully I'm in frame. I haven't been paying attention. But look at this one. Isn't that cool? So this one was a green flower. There's a little piece of it stuck. They're so pretty. Now this one I had a little piece of a doily and this was folded, so it's on both sides. This was the back side of the leaves and this was the front side. And this here is the other doily, or at least the piece of it. Now this here are the blue daisies that were truly dyed. So they weren't actually sprayed. It was a dye that was fed up through the stem and colored the flower itself. And this here you can kind of see was a blue flower, and this was part of the middle. This one was in orange or pink. I think it was pink. And the blues. How pretty the fern is on that. This page tore a little more than the others. I actually did pretty well taking it apart, but this is the only one that's got a definite little piece of damage. But I think just a little piece of, if I aged some cellophane tape, it would look pretty cool. This piece did tear as well, actually, but it teared down the middle. So it just looks like two individual pieces. I'm going to definitely seek out these daisies again. Even though they were painted instead of dyed, at least the pink ones, because I think that's the one I got the best reaction in the paper. So let's go ahead and set these aside. Okay, and some envelopes. So these are the smaller ones. These are the ones that come unglued. Some of the blue. One more blue. So pretty. hibiscus leaves, a little bit of the pink here. And this one, I think, is the prettiest one of all, at least of the small ones. And some larger envelopes, different style, so these don't, well, I should say they're all in one piece. Isn't that cool? I have a couple of this design, I think 2 that did come unglued. A lot of yellow, huh? Look how bright that is. It's so pretty. And then the gray. It's beautiful. A little bit of the pink. A little bit more of the blue. This is the blue sprayed one. And that must have been up against the blue dyed ones because the blue dye bled through. And this is one of the ones that come unglued of the largers. And I think this one too. No. But this one is. No, I thought this one came unglued too. It's just beautiful. Alright, so now all that's left is the fabrics. So this here was a white seam binding, and I put a white sheet underneath so you can kind of see the difference, that this is actually gray now instead of white. And these here are the 2 pieces of lace that I used, and they took on some variations of color. And then this here is the vintage cotton. Now when I was pulling this apart out of the water, the daisies stuck. So I took out the big clump that was the center, but I've left these on here. Now I'm thinking that over time, as this becomes more aged, that these might flake off, but in the meantime I'm gonna leave them intact so that if I or somebody else uses them in a craft, they'll be there. So we just got some edges here. This one has the whole flower. It's these little parts here, that's gonna come off pretty easy, but the petal itself I'm gonna leave on there. And then this side too, and on the opposite side. Isn't that cool though? and then this side here. And then if we look at the back side, so there's different color variations and some leaf impression even without the bright leaves. So, but like I said, I'm not going to do anything to take the flower petals off. We're just going to leave those in place. So that's everything. So pretty. Ta-da! One more batch down. I got to get some really good pictures of these so I can create some digital downloads of them. But yeah, so thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe, everyone.